Ralph Emery, live from Nashville, Tennessee. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Emery.
Well, thank you, Gary Beatty. Hello, my friends. If you will indulge me, I would like, for a moment, to have a personal word with you. I, along with Vince Gill and Mel Tillis, have recently been inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I can think of no better people with whom to achieve this honor. I also want to thank all of the entertainers who have guested on my many shows, enabling me to achieve this great honor, and the fans who have faithfully supported my efforts. I would also like to recognize my family, my 3 sons and their spouses, Steve and Jennifer, Michael and Misty, Kit and Deetra, my married grandchildren, Shannon Guthrie and her husband Scott, Stacy Roberts and her husband Chet, Nathan Emery and wife Kathleen. The little ones, Megan, who is 6, and Allie, who is 4, little young to be married just yet. I also have great-grandchildren, Emma, Grace, and Jack Guthrie. And of course, my wonderful wife, Joy. I dearly love them all. Now to tonight's guest, one of the most creative people I've ever met. He sings, he paints, he performs, and his career started with a hot chick. My friend, Ronnie McDowell. Ronnie, welcome to the show.
Ralph, sure good to see you again, buddy.
Buddy, it's good to have you on the show. And I want to go back to the beginning. I want to talk about the song that made you a star.
Sure.
In August of 1977. It's a tribute to Elvis. Yep. And you folks may remember The King Is Gone, which to this date has sold 5 million records. Now let me get this straight, Ronnie. August of 1977, August 16th, Elvis passed away.
Right.
You made the record on the 18th.
Exactly.
You paid for it with a hot check and released it on the 19th. Tell me that story.
Well, I had went to Memphis the day after Elvis passed away, Ralph, because I never got to see Elvis in person. So I thought, well, I'll go to Memphis and I'll get to see him lying in state. I got there at 8:30 in the morning. The next morning after he passed away, stood in line. Now, you just had to be there. It was like 5 abreast. It was like being in the military for miles and miles. And I mean, for miles, it was like all these people, and it was so hot, I never will forget. And that was 8:30 in the morning. And I mean, people would pass out, and the ambulance would come and it was like the Keystone Cops. They'd come and take them off. And so at 5:30 that afternoon, I got right in front of the gate, about as far from here to that table, and they shut the gate. I didn't get in. So I flew back to Nashville, and I never will forget this. I was on 16th Avenue, the home of Scorpion Records. I was writing and singing for that label at the time. And I walked in, there was a guy standing there by the name of Lee Morgan, and he said, Ronnie, he said, let's do a tribute to Elvis. And I said, Lee, I'm not going to wear a white jumpsuit. He said, that's not what I'm talking about. He said, I came to see you at a club on Lebanon Road, and you sang an Elvis song, and when you did, you sounded like Elvis. And that's what I'm talking about. He said, listen to what I've written. So I listened to what he wrote. And I said, well, listen to what I just wrote, and which was, I was barely 16, or 6 years old when I first heard him sing. And so what we did, we put those two together, and that's what we came up with.
Okay, and now you've got a song, you're going to go in the studio.
That's right.
And record it. Tell me about that.
Well, this was on Thursday. So we went in 2 days later, and we recorded the song, and he came up to me and he said, Ronnie, you need to sound like Elvis. I was still into that mode, and I said, I want to sound like Ronnie McDowell. I don't want to do it like Elvis. And he said, you need to sound like Elvis. And so I did, and inadvertently, by doing so, had I not done that, Ralph, I don't think it would have touched as many people. A lot of people have come up to me and thought that was Elvis singing his own epitaph, you know, and so if you remember the record, you know, I even, you know, talk like Elvis at the front, and then when I come in singing. And so I never will forget the next morning, I slept with that tape. I went home and I slept with that sucker. I mean, I held it close to my breast and I slept all night with it. I got up the next morning, about 7:30 in the morning, I flew down to Nashville. I went to the old Monument Studio. You know where that was at? Mm-hmm. It is now the home of Al Jolson Music now.
Okay.
So I was on the steps, and here comes this lady, and she goes, "Ronnie, what in the world are you doing here at 8:15 in the morning?" And I said, "Gail, I got a hit." Well, that was Gail Pollock, and unbeknownst to me, that was Scotty Moore's girlfriend, Elvis's first guitar player.
Okay.
So she said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I need 8 acetates." Well, an acetate was a great big old record that you could play back then. You know what I'm talking about, but they wouldn't play that many times. So she said, "Well, come on upstairs." So she took my tape of that King Is Gone song, and they put the turntable on the first acetate. I never will forget it. And it started spinning around and started going around. And here come this guy through the hallway with two ladies. And he goes, "Who is that?" And I said, "That's me." And he goes, "You mind if I have one of those? I'm going to take that back and play it at my radio station." I said, "Well, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm Lee Shannon. I'm the program director up in Indianapolis." I said, "You mean you'll play it?" And he said, "Yeah, give me your number. I'll call you and tell you what happens." So I gave it to him, not knowing. So I never will forget, I had 8 acetates made. Now remember, I wrote hot checks for the musicians, for the studio, for everything that night when I recorded, because I only had $42 in the bank.
So you wrote a hot check for everything?
Everything.
How much was everything?
$2,800.
Wow.
What a gamble in 1977. So
It'd be a
anyway,
gamble tonight. Go ahead.
so anyway, I never will forget when I got through with the 8 acetates and I started to take them out, I wrote a hot check for those 8 acetates. So I went out to Weno Radio in Madison. It seems like yesterday. It was 30 years ago. And I never will forget, I walked in and the curtains were, up and it was real hot that August afternoon and the wind was kind of coming through and there was a little secretary and I said, "Would you play this?" And she said, "Well, we don't do anything like that. Not right off the street, kind of like today." Yeah. And so anyway, I said, "Well, it's about Elvis Presley." And she said, "Well, hold on a minute." So she went back and she handed it to the DJ and I saw him. He put the needle on that dadgum acetate and he started playing it. And he went like that through the window. And I went back there and he said, "I'm going to play this." And I said, "You got to be kidding." So I never will forget when he started playing it, it wasn't halfway through, all of his phone lines lit up and he said, "Something's wrong with my phones." And so he started answering them. He said, "You ain't gonna believe this. These people want to hear this and it ain't even through yet." So that's how it happened, Ralph.
How many records did it sell in the first week?
1 million in a week.
How did you get it out to so many radio stations in such a hurry?
Well, there was a company called GRT at the time, you might remember, and they had this unbelievable distribution and they just flew it out. I mean, it was unbelievable. I went down to the pressing plant and they gave me the first pressing, I still have it, of The King Is Gone. And I never will forget, GRT called me and they said, "You're not going to believe what's going on here." And that's what was going on, 1 million in a week.
So they were getting orders?
Just constantly.
Now, an acetate, simply put, is a record. It's an advance of the regular record they send out. It's a record in a hurry. And
right.
you can't play it too many times because it won't hold up. But anyway, it was a way to get the song out in a hurry. And in case you have forgotten, here is the song that made history and to this day has sold 5 million copies.
I was barely 6 years old when I first heard him sing. And somehow I knew from that moment on that it would be a lifetime thing. And I'd stand in front of a mirror day and night, and I'd listen to every one of his records, and I'd repeat every word and every note until I finally got it right. And I was determined that I'd wait for the day that I could stand and sing in front of an audience, and maybe someone would come up to me and say, you know, you sound just like Elvis. There was a man who gave the world his song, and the world stood still to hear him sing. A simple man who took his faith alone, while all the world proclaimed him king. Now the king is gone, and oh, what a reign, and the crown on his head will remain. From a working man to royalty to everlasting fame, the king is gone, yeah, the king is gone, but long live his name. There was a man who tasted sweet success, but still gave his hand to help a friend. A loving man who shared his happiness. Now the king is gone, but there was a man. Now the king is gone, and oh, what a reign, and the crown on his head, oh, will remain. From a working man to royalty to everlasting fame, the king is gone, yeah, the king is gone, long live his name. Yeah, the king is gone, oh, the king is gone, long live his name. Goodbye, Elvis. We'll miss you.
That was 1977.
Yep.
What happened to the hot checks?
Well, they were taken care of real quick, kind of like the next day.
Okay, that's why you didn't go to jail.
Right.
Okay, Ronnie is also a painter. He's a sensational painter. And he painted me once, and he copied a Norman Rockwell. Norman Rockwell used to write, or excuse me, he used to paint covers for the Saturday Evening Post. And here is one, and this is about a bum who's running away from a dog. And Ronnie had me, one night he came over to where I was working, and he said, pretend something's after you. So I did, and he snapped my picture. I didn't know why, but I want you to look at what happened. I had a mustache too in those days. And that's the final result. Ronnie copying Norman Rockwell. I'm showing you that to show you just how good he is. Now we have another painting, and I want you to tell people about it.
Well, Ralph, I woke up back in February, and I wanted to do something to coincide with that record you just heard and saw, The King Is Gone, for my 30th anniversary in the business. So this came to me as exactly as you see it. Elvis, 10 years old, January the 8th, 1945, his mama took him to the Tupelo hardware store. He wanted a .22 rifle, he wanted a bicycle. In 1945, times were really hard for these folks, and his mother Gladys only had like $5, $4 and something really. And so she coaxed him into getting a guitar. And all the way home, he cried. And this is a true story. He told his friend George Klein, he said, I cried all the way home, man. I didn't want no guitar. And the rest is history.
Okay. Tell me about what are we looking at in this painting?
Well, what we're looking at is in the house where Elvis was born. Here he is at 10 years old with the old guitar that his mama purchased for him. And actually, he had worked and done some odd jobs, and he raised a little of that money, but his mama added to it, and they got the guitar. So this is him at 10 years old seeing his future, and his future is 1956, staring back at him, and I wanted that expression on his face, like, are you really sure we want to get into this? And so, you know, that's the expression, you know, that I worked so hard to get, and I think I got it. The wallpaper, that took me forever, drove me crazy, but I got to tell you about that wallpaper. When they refurbished that old house for a museum, there were 4 layers of wallpaper. The very last layer, they got a swatch of it about that big and sent it to China and reproduced it. And so if you go in there now, that's the original wallpaper. Everything that you see, that's the bed that Elvis was born in. So everything you see in the painting, the old picture that we saw in my video up on the right, I spent days and days on Elvis's face.
Did you have your son model holding the guitar?
Well, actually, that's a little boy in Red Boiling Springs,
Okay.
Dalton. And but what happened when I took the picture for the model, I do my paintings kind of like my hero, Norman Rockwell. And so actually I modeled this little kid with those clothes on, but the head wasn't right, the hair wasn't right, the ear, the profile. So what I did, I went through countless numbers of magazines, and then from the movie Speedway, I found Elvis's head at that angle. That's actually Elvis's head, and that's actually Elvis's ear. But still his hair wasn't right, so I had my son Tyler Dean, who is a curb recording artist. I had him to set for hours to pose for that hair, and that's Tyler's hair there.
You're really good, Ronnie.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful painting.
Well, I'm really proud of that, Ralph.
Now, how can people get a copy? Aren't you selling the prints?
You know what, Ralph? This coming week on this same station, we have it's the most amazing thing. This painting has led to a commercial, an infomercial. And with this painting, there's also other paintings, and it's like a package that folks can get. And there's the Sumner County Drive-In. You remember the old drive-ins we used to go to? You told me that you even did some work for drive-ins.
I did.
For years.
Okay, so you call this 1-800-754-5003, and you order. The package contains the print.
This one right here.
And then you get two extra prints.
Which is the Sumner County Drive-In. And you also get the world's greatest rock and roll band, which was Elvis and the Boys back in 1955, filling up in the old 53 Chevy at an old gas station, and the kind of places that you could only buy gas back in those days.
You also get an album.
Yeah, Ronnie McDowell Sings Elvis, which is a lot of songs, and I put this album together of some of my favorite Elvis songs that I have done, some of them from the movies. As a matter of fact, like 6 of them are from a new movie I've just done. I have been Elvis's voice in 12 movies, 29 commercials, and a Twilight Zone.
Let me interrupt you. I need to go to a break here, Ronnie.
Okay.
But we'll be back with Ronnie McDowell right after this.
TV continues to expand and improve programming for the feedback and requests received from our viewers. Starting in November, be sure to tune in each week to the Successful Farming Machinery Show, produced by the good folks at Meredith and Successful Farming Magazine. A new Dutch oven cooking show, Cowboy Flavor, hosted by Master Chef Billy Ruiz, along with Vanishing Days of the Cowboy, which will focus on the history and all aspects of the cowboy. Please note these changes to the schedule. Ag PhD gets back its Tuesday evening time slot. The American Rancher and Cowboy Church Higher Ground now has a Monday evening primetime repeat. Johnny High moves to Friday evenings, with Penny Gilly now premiering on Thursday nights right before the Gaither Gospel Hour. Plus, I Love Toy Trains returns just in time for the holiday season. For more information or a complete program schedule, please refer to the November-December issue of RFD TV the magazine or go to rfdtv.com.
RFD TV, Penny Gilly, and Jeff Brandt invite you to join us aboard the breathtakingly beautiful Costa Mediterranea, sailing from Fort Lauderdale to the Western Caribbean for 7 days, beginning Saturday, March 8th, with 4 stops in Key West, Grand Cayman, Honduras, and the exciting port of Cozumel, Mexico. There'll be dining, dancing, Vegas-style shows, shore excursions, plus bonus performances by Penny and Jeff, along with the RFD TV All-Star Band. Prices $169 to $1,229 per person, which includes port tax, meals, and show tickets. For complete details or to receive a free brochure, please click or email cruise@rfdtv.com or call Barbara at 1-800-724-9511. An order form is also on page 11 of the anniversary issue of RFD TV, the magazine. It's been a great year, rural America, so come celebrate a little with RFD TV, the theater, as we sail the clear blue waters of the Caribbean.
I'm thinking so much to do and so little time. Tell me about your relationship with Priscilla Presley.
Well, I first started knowing Priscilla when I did a movie called Elvis and Me. She had a #1 book out, same title, so they did a TV movie. And she called me and asked me if I would do it. I turned it down to begin with. I didn't want to do it because I told my manager at the time, Don Dortch, that I didn't want anything to do with that because I was tired of, I'd already done a lot of movies being Elvis's voice, and I didn't want to do anymore. But you remember in 1988, you know, I was still having, you know, records on the radio all tied up,
yeah.
Wandering Eyes, Older Women, and
right.
And so he went back to Priscilla and said, Ronnie doesn't want to do this movie. And she said, why? And he told her, well, he just is tired of being kind of typecast with that kind of thing. And so about 2 weeks later, she called Don back and she said, well, we've listened to all of these Elvis sound-alikes and we don't want those folks. We want Ronnie. What will it take to get him to do it? And Don said, well, how much we talking about? And so Don came back to me and I said, when are we going to be in Hollywood?
She offered you a lot of money.
She did. And so then I met her and we've been friends ever since.
How many movies have you been in? I know you, Kurt Russell played Elvis in a movie and you did the soundtrack.
That was the first one. Dick Clark called me and asked me to do that after I did American Bandstand.
Okay.
And so that led to 12 movies to date, 29 commercials, and a Twilight Zone.
You've done 12 movies about Elvis?
I have.
And a Twilight Zone about Elvis?
Yeah, and I'm still getting a check from the Twilight Zone episode, and I love that episode. It's Elvis hitchhiking, and this guy picks him up. And it's the coolest episode, I swear. And I love the Twilight Zone. And me and Dolly just did a duet. And she wrote this song, Last Night I Dreamed About Elvis. She always wanted Elvis to sing, I Will Always Love You. Colonel wanted the publishing, you know that story.
Yeah.
And Dolly said, I wasn't going to give him the publishing. And she said, so I want you to sing, I Will Always Love You, like Elvis would have done it. And so I did, and she jumped up out of her chair and she said, that's it, that's it.
Well, now, does she sing with you on this record?
Oh, yeah.
So she sings with you, you're singing I Will Always Love You.
Well, you know, she sings.
She's already done this with Vince Gill.
Which one?
I Will Always Love You.
Well, I know, but I mean, this is in her song. I dreamed about Elvis, dreamed about Elvis, dreamed about Elvis last night. And that's Dolly doing her interpretation of Elvis.
Okay. And then you sing.
And then in the song, she said, well, you know, E, I always wanted you to sing I Will Always Love You. Would you sing a little of that for me? And so I did. And like I say, she jumped up out of her chair and said, that's the way I wanted it.
So when's the record coming out?
I don't know.
I've got to hear this.
Yeah, I love the record.
Is that coming out pretty soon?
I hope so. It was supposed to come out in October. So, but I was so excited about, you know, getting to do, and I will always love you. You know, so, you know, putting that kind of Elvis to it, you know, Ralph.
Let me ask you about something that just hit me. You know that thing you used to do about Blue Moon? You were copying an old rock group doing.
Oh
Blue
yeah,
Moon.
and we'd always boom 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 dang a dang dang Blue Moon. Oh yeah, I would do that on Nashville Now all the time.
Well, all right. You somehow found out that Elvis's favorite song and Priscilla's favorite song is Unchained Melody, right?
Right.
Who told you that?
Well, I knew that, being a big Elvis fan. You know, and Elvis used to sing that to Priscilla when he was in the Army. And the irony of that is, one afternoon in 1990, I never will forget, I had one of those new fandangled cell phones in my truck, my Ford truck, and I was planting some trees, and so my phone rang, and it was Mike Curb, and which I've been with Mike Curb and still am since 1984. He said, Ronnie, I'm flying you to California tonight. I said, for what? And he said, Bill Medley's going to produce you singing Unchained Melody. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And I said, why? And he said, well, we have it out in the movie Ghost with the Righteous Brothers. And I said, why do you want me to sing it? He said, because I'm putting it out in the country music field. And I said, Mike, that ain't no country song. And he said, that song transcends all boundaries. And I said, well, he said, you go get a copy of it, you listen to it. And I said, I don't have to listen to that, I know that song. He said, but go get a copy of it. I did. He called me back an hour later and he said, Bobby Hatfield does not want you singing on their track. I said, why is that? And he said, I don't know. He said, can you record it in Nashville? And I said, yes, sir, I can do it. He said, can you do it tonight? And I said, Mike, it's 5 o'clock. And he said, can you record it tonight? I called my friend Buddy Killen. And Buddy, I said, Buddy, would you produce me singing Unchained Melody? He said, yeah, when you want to do it? And I said, right now. and I never will forget, I called David Briggs, Elvis's piano player. And he said, Ronnie, when do you want to do this song? And I said, Mike wants me to do it tonight. And he said, Ronnie, it's 5:30. He said, let me call you back. Ralph, you ain't going to believe this. You know how things happen, fall into place. He called me back 30 minutes later and he said, Ronnie, you're not going to believe this, but I've got all the A players, and we'll see you at Masterphonic Studio at 7 o'clock. We went in on the third take. The record that you hear that I did, that was my record.
Well, we're going to join you actually by way of video. We're going to play part of that song. Here's Elvis's favorite song by Ronnie McDowell. Yes. Applause, 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 applause. You really nailed that. Really did.
And that was the third take. I never will forget that. It was one of those magical things.
You know, you killed me saying, you ain't going to believe this. Tell them the story about going through the Washington, D.C. airport with a gun.
Well, I had a show with Conway Twitty that night in Baltimore, so I was in Washington, had to catch a plane, and I had my .38 on the bed, and I just put it in my suitcase, and I didn't think anything about it, and I never will forget I had 2 shells in it. I was a Sumner County Sheriff deputy, but unbeknownst to me, it had went out that day, my license.
Okay.
So I went through the airport, through the security thing, and it went through, and the lady goes, "Whose suitcase is this?" And I was joking, and my bass player was behind me, and I said, "It's his," and he said, "It ain't mine." And so they come and got me. It was like something in a movie. They handcuffed me, took me downstairs, and it really was like in a movie. It was a dark room with a spotlight, and this guy goes, "So you had a bullet for each pilot, huh?" I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "No, I just forgot I had the gun in there." So you know how I got out of that, Ralph? I said, "You got to call Conway Twitty. I got a show tonight in Baltimore." They got Conway on the phone while I was in this little debriefing room, and Conway, they put him on the speaker, and I never will forget it. And he said, "What in the world are y'all doing with that boy? Let him alone and let him go. We got a show tonight." And would you believe they let me go? But it took me a year to get out of that. I had to go to federal court here in Nashville, and the judge, he said, I don't know why he asked me this, but he said, "How many employees you got?" And I said, 13. I still don't know why he asked me that. And he said, "Well, I seem to think you're pretty good for society." He said, 2 bullets in your gun." And I said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Judge, let me tell you something." I said, "Haven't you ever just forgot something?" He said, "Yeah, but let me tell you what. Just for you forgetting, I'm going to fine you $500, and if I ever see you in here for anything like this again, that's it." So that's how it happened, and that's what happened.
All right, Ronnie. We're gonna let people call and ask you a few questions.
All right.
And the telephone number is 866-547-9696. We'll be back with Ronnie McDowell right after this.
Johnny Cash.
Hi, folks. This is Ronnie Millsap.
Hi, this is Dolly Parton.
For over 30 years, one man has interviewed virtually every star in the country music business. I'm talking, of course, about Ralph Emery. Well, what if I told you that Ralph kept all of these interviews hidden here in Nashville in a climate-controlled warehouse for almost 40 years? Well, it's true, and for the very first time, he is releasing these incredible interviews to you, the country music fan.
Finally, Ralph Emery releases 40 years of one-on-one interviews with 132 country music stars. It took 46 CDs to record it all. You also get the Mini Pearl DVD.
Wake up, everybody!
And the Lost Show of Johnny Cash DVD. All for 4 easy payments of $37.50 plus shipping and handling. Or make one payment of $149.95 and shipping and handling is free. Call the number on your screen or go to ralphemery.com.
You asked for it, and now you got it. The first ever set of RFD TV calendars are now available for ordering. Produced from thousands of outstanding pictures submitted by RFD TV viewers from all over this great country. These are truly calendars that you will be proud to hang in your home, barn, or office, or give as gifts to friends and neighbors. There are 3 different categories to choose from: antique tractors, equine, and rural lifestyle. Plus, as an added bonus, each calendar lists the major tractor, horse, and country events and shows to help your planning for 2008. Pick the calendar of your interest for $16.95 each, plus $5 for shipping and handling. Or order any 3 calendars of your choosing for just $45 by sending your check or money order to RFD TV Calendar, P.O. Box 189, Elkhorn, Nebraska 68022. For credit card orders, simply click Calendar on RFDTV.com or call 1-888-65-RFD-TV. That's 888-657-3388. And thanks for your support of RFD TV. November 30th and December 1st, RFD TV The Theater is proud to present 4-time Female Artist of the Year, Lori Morgan. With her roots planted deeply into the Grand Ole Opry, this platinum recording artist is sure to electrify the stage. Lori Morgan, November 30th and December 1st at RFD TV The Theater in Branson, Missouri. Call 417-332-2282 for tickets or visit us online at rfdtv.com.
RFD-TV The Theater proudly presents a Christmas extravaganza featuring the Heartland's best-loved sister group, Mulberry Lane. Beginning Veterans Day weekend through December 5th, treat the entire family to a holiday concert filled with beautiful harmonies, humor, and dance. Bring your family and friends to this must-see musical extravaganza. Don't miss Mulberry Lane appearing at RFD-TV The Theater through December 5th. Call the theater box office at 417-332-2282 or go online for tickets, show times, and information.
This is the phone segment, my friends, and off we go to the state of Texas, and Linda is there. Linda, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Linda?
I am fine. I am so glad that you're back on the air, and I fell in love with Ronnie when he came out with Elvis Has Left the Building.
Well, what's your question?
Well, does he ever perform it anymore?
Elvis Has Left the Building. Is that a song?
No, I didn't do that song.
Well, he did a song about Elvis in the 70s.
Well, that was The King Is Gone. That
Okay.
that was the song that we did just a few minutes ago with a video.
Okay, well, I just found you, so
Okay.
I want to thank you, but can I mention my little one-horse town?
Yeah.
I live in a little town by the name of Throckmorton, Texas.
Sonny Throckmorton.
Do you know
And
some...
if you ever come through here, just stop and ask for the crazy old librarian, and I will treat you to a free book.
Okay.
All right.
That's a deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Regina, LJ, Georgia. Regina, I guess, is the name of the person. Johnny and Regina Goebel. That's it. Wanted to ask Ronnie McDowell how it felt singing in an old chicken house a few years back, and would he consider doing it again? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, you know, Ralph, I have, in my 30 years of doing what I'm doing, actually about 35 now, I've played all kind of places, and including chicken houses. And you know, back in some of those places that we played, they would actually put up chicken wire, and if they didn't like what you were doing, and sometimes even if they did, you know, they would throw things at you. So thank goodness for the chicken wire.
Oh, they get a little rowdy?
Yeah.
Get to drinking a little bit?
Yeah,
get a
they
little
do
rowdy.
that in clubs sometimes.
Sandy, up in the state of Maine. Hello, Sandy.
Hi.
What's your question?
Well, I want to ask Ron. He looks just as good as he did when he was growing up. He's still just as handsome.
Well, honey, I still ain't grown up yet, but thank you.
And I want to know if he's got a CD out of Christmas yet.
I do have a Christmas CD. I really do.
You do. Can you get it on your website, or do you have one?
You can get it on RonnieMcDowell.com, yes.
RonnieMcDowell.com.
When did you do it?
I did it years ago, Ralph. I put, you know, a lot of my favorite country Christmas songs on it and some of my favorite classic Christmas songs, and then I wrote a few for it.
So you can find it at RonnieMcDowell.com.
Right.
All right, Sandy, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to the emails. Jan in South Haven, Michigan says his latest painting is completely gorgeous. Elvis would have been proud. She hopes his daughter Lisa receives a copy. Do you ever have any contact with Lisa?
I do.
Want to send her a copy?
I am going to give Lisa and Priscilla both a copy of this painting because, you know, this painting to me says in my heart everything that needs to be said about Elvis Presley.
Okay. Robert in Alabama. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Mr. Emery. How you doing?
I'm all right. What's on your mind?
Ronnie McDowell. How you doing, my friend?
Robert, I'm doing absolutely unbelievable. It's good to be back here with my friend Ralph, you know, who I used to be with on Pop Goes the Country.
I know. I've been following your career. I got to sing a song with you in 1988 at Cowboys in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'd just like to know if you're ever going to do a concert around Birmingham again.
Well, I don't know, but if I do, you come and see me again.
I will.
All right, buddy.
From New Mexico all the way to Tallahassee, Florida, all over.
Well, thank you.
Even when you was riding in the bus at Conway Twitty gave you.
That's right.
That's right.
Conway give you a bus?
Well, no, he made me pay for it.
Robert, thank you.
God bless you, Ronnie.
Thank you, buddy.
over in, where? A fellow, he writes to us a lot. His name is Wayne Wright. And is there a story behind the song, "You're Going to Ruin My Bad Reputation"?
Yeah, that was written by a young fellow, Ralph, by the name of Jeff Crossan. And that was actually the first song that he had ever had recorded. It was on an album of mine. Buddy Killen, who was an unbelievable producer and good friend of yours and mine, he produced that song, but it was slow. But I knew the song was there. So on a Conway Twitty show in Baltimore, Maryland again, I told my band, the Kentucky Headhunters, they were my band for 8 years. You and I were talking about that. I said, there's a song on my album, my new album, "You're Going to Ruin My Bad Reputation," but it's slow. But I know it's a hit, but if we could do it up tempo. So that Sunday before the show, me and the Headhunters sat there and worked that out, that what you hear, and we recorded it. We come back with Buddy, and it was a #1 record.
So you had to change the tempo.
Changed the tempo, and that was it.
Okay, let's go to Ohio, the Buckeye State. Sherry. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm so excited to be on. I just wanted to know if he's going to do any more paintings of Elvis.
You mean in addition to the one we've talked about tonight?
Yes, sir.
In addition to the new one?
Yes.
I guess you'll be painting Elvis for the rest of your life, won't you?
Well, you know, I tell everybody this painting here is my favorite thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know if I will or not, but maybe down the road somewhere.
I would bet on it, Sherry.
Okay, thank you. I like Ronnie McDowell. I've seen quite a few times.
Well,
thank you, Sherry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have this is from Wyoming, Wright, Wyoming, Justin, Gallob, Gallup, wants to know if you knew Elvis.
Never laid eyes on Elvis. I first saw Elvis on the Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey shows in February of '56. Jackie Gleason got Elvis on that show, and my sister brought me in and she set me down in front of a TV. My uncle got us a little black and white TV about that big, and she said, "I saw this guy last week. Nobody at school wanted to watch him because of a big band show." She said, "But this guy's really different." He came on, Ralph, I never will forget, and he pointed his finger at the camera and he went, "Ready, set, go, man, go. I got a gal that I love, so I'm ready." And it was like somebody poured a bucket of water over me. I said, because I was already Fats Domino, Little Richard, Perry Como, Patty Page's biggest fan. But when I saw this guy, I was like, whoa. So I've been Elvis's biggest fan ever since.
Oh, okay. All right. Good answer. Are we out of time? Okay. That was fun. We'll be back with Ronnie McDowell right after this.
The nation's largest flying American flag from the United Veterans of America will proudly be on display and flown over RFD-TV The Theater throughout Veterans Day weekend. Make your plans now to come to Branson, Missouri on November 9th, 10th, and 11th to witness and participate in this unique 3-day tribute to our country's veterans, which will include special patriotic salutes each day in both the Penny Gilley Show at 7 p.m. and Mulberry Lane's 3 p.m. performances on RFD-TV The Theater stage. You may also want to attend the Veterans Day Parade in downtown Branson on 11/11 at 11 a.m. or take in many of the other veterans activities planned for the week. To reserve your theater tickets or for more information, call the box office at 417-332-2282 or simply click theater on rfdtv.com. RFD-TV proudly salutes America's veterans, and we hope you can join us during this special celebration. Country cooking. There's nothing so good. And now RFD-TV is serving you our first ever cookbook. It has over 300 mouth-watering recipes from country kitchens coast to coast. You'll find appetizers for your parties and great holiday dessert ideas, soups, stews, and salads, and lots of canning and pickling ideas to help you use up the bounty of your garden. delicious main dishes for get-togethers with family and friends, and lots of great candy and cookie recipes for when the grandkids come over. Country Cookin' would be a great addition to your cookbook collection. It makes an easy and practical holiday gift, or for newlyweds, new neighbors, a teacher, anyone who just loves good food. Thanks to our great country cooks, this cookbook brings it all together for you, because good eatin' is good livin'. Order yours today.
Ronnie, about 7 years ago, you did a video down at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, and with an assist from Dick Clark in New York, we're going to play a little bit of it for you. So let's join Dick Clark, and you'll see how a video is made.
All right, you got a coat? All right, I need the coat. I need other stuff too. Yeah. Muffler was good. Got to look cold. Gloves, you got gloves? All right. I can hardly wait here. Now, all right, last thing I need is that hand mic. Yeah, all right, just a second. And just throw up the Times Square thing in the back here.
You want Times Square?
Yeah, man. Hey, it's a music video. Get a life. All right, Times Square. We're ready. From Times Square and Broadway here in New York to Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee, from the world-famous Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, here are Ronnie McDowell and the Rockets.
Give it to me, give it to me, give me some more. With one little taste, it was said and done. Like a real good thing, you can't stop with just one. I had to call and I'm coming over, 'cause I just can't wait. I just can't wait a fraction of a second longer. Give it to me one more time. Can't get your loving off of my mind. I'm camping out at the foot of your door. Till you give it to me, give it to me, give me some more. We started a fire I can't put out. It's a burning flame, red hot, no doubt.
How many artists are in the audience?
There's 84.
And legendary record producer and the man who gave Elvis his break, Sam Phillips, is in that video.
Yeah, I called him up and I said, Sam, would you come and be in a video that I'm doing at Tootsie's Orchid Lounge? And he said, well, Ronnie, I really don't do anything like that, but for you, I'll be there. And he sat there on that stool for 2 hours. And I wouldn't take anything for that video, Ralph. You were there, Sam, 84 different artists.
I saw Crystal Gale there in one of the shots.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about your family for a bit. You are one of 11 children?
10.
10 children?
Yes.
How old was your mother when she got married?
She was 13.
Wow. How old was your dad?
My dad was 21, and this was 1933, and my granddaddy, and I don't have to tell you, and I know you've heard these stories, but back in the Depression, you know, families could not, it was really hard to feed children, you know, and my granddaddy had a really hard time, and so my dad came along, and he was one of these suave, debonair dudes at that time, and my mother was a beautiful little girl, so anyway, she married him when she was 13, and I never will forget, she told me, they got married up in, you remember Elmer Hinton?
Yes.
Elmer Hinton married my mom and dad for $2.
He was sort of a philosopher, had a newspaper column.
From Portland.
Yeah.
Married my mom and dad for $2. They flew, they didn't fly, they drove an old truck down to Chattanooga. They stayed at the Eastern Hotel. And my mother said, I locked myself in the bathroom and I wouldn't come out the whole night. Well, no wonder she was 13, you know. So that's how my life began, really.
Well, now, so you have 5 brothers and sisters?
One of my sisters, she died at birth.
Okay. You're one of 11 children?
I'm 7th.
Okay. So how many brothers, how many sisters?
Well, there's 5 each. 5 brothers, 5 sisters.
Okay. You went to the Navy. You joined the Navy so you could stay out of Vietnam, and what happened?
Well, that's exactly right, Ralph. I did not want to go to Vietnam, not because I didn't believe in it. I just didn't want to go to war. Well, as soon as I got out of boot camp, I got this big old manila envelope, and it said Vietnam. I went, oh no. So I went over to Vietnam, and I landed in Saigon, October of 1968. I was there in 68, 69. I went to personnel. True story. And I said, I'm tired of being in Vietnam. And the guy at personnel, he was 20 years old, 21. He said, well, we'll have you out of here in 2 weeks. I said, you're kidding. 2 weeks I was out of there. I went to Adak, Alaska for 13 months. Lived underground, no trees, no girls, nothing. For 13 months, I got back from Adak, Alaska, and I went, man, I'm so glad it's over with. I was in San Francisco, and I said, I'm so glad to be back here. Got my orders, back to Vietnam. I didn't have very good duty.
You were on an aircraft carrier, weren't you?
A couple of times I were. Yeah, I was on the USS Ham, which was a World War II class, and then I was on the USS Kitty Hawk, which is still in operation.
And you were a barber?
At one time, I was a barber. I did a lot of things in the Navy. As I studied and I made more class, I found out it was easier. The more stripes you got, the better job you got. So yes, I did a lot of things.
Well, you had no training as a barber.
I never had 1 ounce of training.
So how did you become a barber?
Well, I painted a sign on this ensign's door, and he said, son, if you can paint like that, why do you want to be in the deck force? And I said, I don't. And he said, what do you want to do? I had heard that being a barber was the easiest job in the service. And I said, I want to cut hair. And he said, can you cut hair? And I said, yes, sir. Never cut a head of hair in my life.
The first guy that sat in your chair, did he ever forgive you for what you did to him?
You know, Ralph, he was a first class, and this is the God's truth. I did not know how to take that clipper and go like that and come back, so I didn't know. It was my first try, so instead of going back, I went into his head. There was nothing I could do. He looked horrible. He chased me around that ship the whole night. He was a big dude. If he had caught me, he would have killed me. He was a first class. But he didn't catch me.
How long did you barber?
You know what, Ralph? The really neat thing about that, in 2 weeks, I got really adept at it, and this guy who ran the enlisted barbershop came up to me. I got so good at it, in 2 weeks, he come up and he said, Ronnie, I need a position in the officers' barbershop. Would you like that? And I said, well, yeah. And so that I went up and I cut all the young flyers, the flyers and the admiral's hair.
When you were on the Hancock,
yes,
another carrier, didn't you sing on the same ship that Elvis had performed on?
Well, the irony of that is, on the same elevator that brought the planes up, we took a break from fighting one day. Me and 2 guys entered a variety show, and this guy come up to me and he said, Elvis Presley stood right there on that same spot on the Milton Berle show in 1956. It was the first place and the first time I ever sang in my life. Now, where's the irony in that?
Well, your paths obviously were destined to cross.
Yes.
Ronnie, we have to go. You have really been a delight. I wish you well with your new painting.
Well, you know, Ralph, this is going to be an infomercial starting this week on this show. And
on this network?
On this network. And T.G. Shepard, my buddy T.G. Shepard, who knew Elvis, is the pitch man for this. I'm so excited.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, my friends. Good night.